It was just before 6 in the morning when silence filled the lobby of the Hudson Plaza Tower in the heart of New York City. Outside, the streets were slowly waking up. A few taxis passed through the wet asphalt, and the sky carried that pale blue color that comes right before sunrise. Inside, at a long stone table, sat Daniel Harper. For more than 3 decades, his name had represented success, authority, and respect. Daniel had built companies from nothing, signed contracts worth millions, and employed thousands of people. His face had appeared in magazines and business programs, but that morning, none of that mattered anymore. In front of him lay a stack of legal documents and a sleek silver pen. One signature was all it would take to end everything he had built. The papers described the process clearly: voluntary bankruptcy, clean, final, irreversible. Daniel stared at the pages, but the words blurred together. His chest felt tight, as if the air in the room had grown heavy. In a little over 2 hours, his attorneys would arrive. Shortly after that, the news would break. Another powerful man fallen, another empire gone. Over the past months, Daniel had lost more than money. His son stopped returning his calls. His ex-wife sent a short message the night before, saying she could no longer watch him suffer. Longtime partners disappeared. Advisors stopped offering solutions and started giving ultimatums. Now, there was only silence. He picked up the pen. Years ago, it had been a symbol of victory, a gift from his father after his first major deal. Back then, holding it felt like holding the future. Now, it felt unbearably heavy, as if it carried every mistake he had ever made. At the far end of the lobby, a cleaning cart rolled quietly across the marble floor. Pushing it was a woman named Rosa Miller. She had worked the night shift for years, always invisible, always careful not to disturb anyone important. Walking beside her was her daughter, Lily. Lily was small, with curious eyes and a faded backpack hanging loosely from her shoulders. Her school uniform was slightly too big, the sleeves covering part of her hands. She looked around the lobby with open curiosity, taking in the tall columns, the glass walls, and the echoes of her own footsteps. Then she noticed Daniel. He did not look powerful. He did not look important. He looked tired, sad in a way Lily did not yet have words for. Rosa whispered for her daughter to stay close and not touch anything. Lily nodded, but her eyes never left the man at the table. Children do not know how to pretend they do not see pain. Daniel tried to refocus on the documents, lists of assets, debts, projections. The numbers told him there was no escape. He had been told again and again that this was the only smart decision left. Sign now, control the fall. He turned to the final page. His name waited at the bottom, neat and empty. The clock on the wall showed a few minutes before 6. Daniel raised the pen. His hand shook slightly. He closed his eyes for a moment, ashamed of the weakness. This was supposed to be simple: sign and move on, accept the loss. A small voice broke the silence. "Mom, why does that man look so sad?" Daniel froze. He did not turn around. He pretended not to hear, but the question stayed with him. Sad was not enough to describe what he felt. It was defeat. It was exhaustion. It was the fear that he had failed everyone who believed in him. Rosa gently tried to pull Lily away, apologizing in a low voice. Lily took a few steps, then stopped again. Her eyes dropped to the papers spread across the table, rows of numbers, columns that seemed endless. Something about them caught her attention. Daniel opened his eyes and looked once more at the signature line. The pen hovered above the paper. He did not know it yet, but that quiet morning, was about to change. Daniel kept the pen suspended in the air when he sensed movement nearby. Soft footsteps approached the table. He opened his eyes and saw Lily standing on her toes, her small fingers barely touching the edge of the stone surface. Rosa hurried over, embarrassed, apologizing again and again, saying her daughter should not bother him. Daniel was about to wave them away when Lily spoke first, her voice calm and sincere. "Are you okay, sir?" The question caught him completely off guard. No one had asked him that in months. Lawyers asked for signatures. Partners demanded decisions. Everyone wanted answers, numbers, explanations. No one asked if he was okay. Daniel swallowed. "Not really," he said quietly. Rosa reached for Lily's arm, mortified. Daniel lifted his hand, signaling that it was fine. Something about the girl made him want to listen. Lily tilted her head, studying his face like a puzzle. She said he had the same look her mom had when the rent was due, a look of someone trying very hard not to cry. Daniel let out a tired breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Was it really that obvious? Lily's eyes drifted down to the papers spread across the table. She frowned. "That's a lot of numbers." Daniel nodded, more than he wanted to think about. She leaned in a little closer, ignoring her mother's nervous glances, and pointed at one of the pages. These two looked the same. Daniel followed her finger. 2 lines on different pages, same amount, same tiny identification code. His heart skipped. That could not be right. He had trusted his team. He believed everything had been reviewed carefully. "What do you mean?" he asked, suddenly alert. Lily explained it the only way she knew. At school, when kids copy the same number twice, the answer comes out wrong. This looked like that, 2 different places but the same number. Rosa tried to interrupt, apologizing again, but Daniel was no longer listening. He pulled the documents closer and checked. The asset was listed twice under different names. The air in the lobby felt different. "Did you notice any others like that?" he asked, his voice steady but his chest tight. Lily pointed to another line, then another. She said she liked numbers because they felt like puzzles. To Daniel, they suddenly felt like a lifeline. He grabbed his phone and started recalculating. He removed duplicated values, adjusted outdated figures. His hands still shook, not from fear, from something fragile and unfamiliar. Hope. The result was not a miracle. The company was still in trouble, but it was not the death sentence he had been handed. Daniel looked up at Lily, truly seeing her for the first time. A small girl with a worn backpack had spotted what experienced professionals had missed. The clock read a little past 6. In less than 2 hours, the lawyers would walk in expecting a broken man ready to sign. Instead, Daniel felt doubt grow stronger. Maybe the numbers were wrong. Maybe this was not over. He looked at Lily again. "Would you help me look through the rest before they get here?" Her face lit up. "I can try," she said. As the sky outside began to brighten, a man on the edge of losing everything and a child with sharp eyes leaned over the same stack of papers. Rosa watched from a distance, anxious and confused, yet certain that something important was unfolding. The quiet lobby slowly filled with sound. Doors slid open. Footsteps echoed across the marble floor. Voices carried from outside as the city fully woke up. But Daniel barely noticed. His world had narrowed to the table, the documents, and Lily's small finger tracing patterns across the pages. "Here too," she said, "and this one." Each time she pointed, Daniel felt a tightening in his chest. Repeated assets, inflated values, debts that no longer existed. Line by line, the picture he had trusted began to fall apart. Rosa paced nervously a few steps away. She feared she had caused trouble, feared losing her job, feared that her daughter had crossed an invisible line she did not understand. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. What he was seeing was not a simple mistake. It was too consistent, too damaging. He had been pushed towards surrender by numbers that did not reflect reality. His phone buzzed on the table. Lawyers arriving in 20 minutes. Daniel's stomach dropped. 20 minutes to decide whether to stand his ground or give up. He looked at Lily, still focused, unaware of the weight of the moment. "If the numbers are wrong, you don't have to lose everything," she said softly. The simplicity of the statement struck him hard. He had been ready to sign without fighting, ready to accept a loss that might never have been his. The glass doors slid open with a sharp sound. Several men in dark suits entered, confident and impatient. The lead attorney walked straight toward Daniel, asking if everything was ready. Daniel did not answer. He pushed the marked documents across the table. "We're not signing today." The attorney frowned, talking about deadlines, consequences, no alternatives. Daniel cut him off. "There is an alternative. These numbers are wrong." The attorney took the papers, skeptical. He read, then read again. His expression shifted. Silence followed. "If this is accurate," he said quietly, "you cannot sign anything today." Before he could say more, 2 board members stormed in, demanding answers. They insisted the delay would only make things worse, that bankruptcy was the only solution. Daniel stood up. "Did you know about this?" he asked, his voice steady. They denied it, said it was too late to change course, that leadership changes were already planned. Lily stepped forward. "The numbers are wrong," she said clearly. "I saw them. He saw them." Her small voice cut through the tension. The attorney announced an emergency audit. He spoke of serious negligence, possibly more. The board members left in silence, shaken. Daniel sat back down, his legs weak. Rosa covered her mouth, holding back tears. Lily looked at him, uncertain. "Did I do something bad?" Daniel met her eyes, emotion rising. "You did exactly the right thing." But even as relief washed over him, Daniel knew the truth. The signature had been stopped, but the real fight was just beginning. The conference room on the top floor of Hudson Plaza Tower felt unusually still. Through the glass walls, New York moved at its usual speed, horns in the distance, sunlight reflecting off steel and windows. Inside, time seemed to slow down. Folders covered the long table. Every document that had pushed Daniel toward bankruptcy was now being examined again, line by line. Independent auditors sat with serious expressions, flipping pages, whispering numbers to one another. No assumptions, no shortcuts. Lily sat quietly in a large chair near the corner, her feet dangling above the floor, holding her faded backpack close. Rosa sat beside her, hands clasped tightly, whispering prayers under her breath. Minutes stretched into hours. Daniel stood by the window, his thoughts racing. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled him. For the first time in months, he was not waiting for the end. He was waiting for the truth. Finally, one of the auditors looked up. "The financial picture presented to justify bankruptcy was incorrect," she said calmly. "There are serious inconsistencies. The company is struggling, but it is not beyond recovery." Daniel closed his eyes. The weight on his chest loosened just enough for him to breathe. This was not a victory parade. There was still debt, still work, still consequences, but it was not the end. Board members who had pushed for immediate bankruptcy were suspended. Investigations began. Hard conversations followed. Daniel did not step away from them. He faced them head on, knowing now that surrender would have been the real failure. He walked over to Lily and knelt so they were eye to eye. "You did something very important today," he said gently. "You helped more people than you realize." Lily shrugged shyly. She said she just noticed patterns, that numbers made sense to her, that helping felt natural. Months passed. Hudson Plaza Tower no longer felt like a place of quiet defeat. The hallways filled with movement again. Plans were rebuilt carefully. Trust was restored slowly. The company was not perfect, but it was alive. Lily's life changed too. She enrolled in a better school. Tutors helped her develop the talent she did not yet understand was rare. Rosa moved to a daytime position with stable hours and a sense of dignity she had never known before. In Daniel's office, one document hung framed on the wall. The first page Lily had pointed to, the duplicated numbers circled in red. Beneath it, a handwritten line. This is where everything changed. One afternoon, Lily asked if she could work there someday when she grew up. Daniel smiled, a real smile, steady and certain. "There will always be room for people who know how to look closely," he told her. This story leaves us with a simple reminder. Hope does not always arrive in a suit or with authority. Sometimes it comes quietly, through honesty, courage, and a child who dares to speak. How many times have you almost given up without checking the numbers of your own life one more time? If this story touched you, share in the comments what it made you feel. Follow the channel for more stories that prove it is never too late to begin again.